Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Paige and today is my February mid-month wrap-up. I'm trying to start my mid-month wrap-ups again because when I do just one monthly wrap-up video, it's like super long. So I'm trying to go back to having a mid-month wrap-up in the middle of the month and then doing the final wrap-up at the end of the month. So I've read 8 books in the first half of February. I have not read as many books as I usually do. I've just been super busy. I recently started this part-time job and I just am so much busier than I was. So anyway, I have not read as many books as I would like to, but I've still read 8, so I'm going to talk about them today. So in my last wrap up, I was talking about that I read the first 2 books in the Spidermates series by Tiffany Roberts, and I read the 3rd one. I tried to finish it before January ended, but I just couldn't do it. So I finished it in February, and this is the 3rd book in the series, and I really can't tell you what it's about because I can't, it'll spoil the story. But this is essentially about a girl who is on her way to another planet. They are relocating some humans on Earth to this other planet to relocate and establish this new home. They go to sleep in these pods while they're being, traveling to this new planet, and then she wakes up on this planet that she didn't mean to be at because their ship had crashed, and they are now on this planet with these spider-like creatures. I think they're called the Vricks, and they are he's like a Spider-Man, not Spider-Man, which is a constant joke in this series. She calls him Spider-Man, and he's like, no, I'm Vricks. He's very much offended of her calling him Spider-Man, but he's a Spider-Man creature. So he's man part spider, and I avoided this series for forever because I just didn't think I could do a spider, and I still a little cringy when you think about it because I just can't with spiders. But he was amazing. His name is Catan, and he is such a fabulous hero of a story. He loves Ivy so much. He protects her with everything he has. I love the protectiveness that he feels for her. She fell down in the mud, and he's already, he's already there picking her up, and he's just so worried about her. And they are, he knows that this is his mate, and he just loves her with everything he has and would do anything. He would even die for her, and I adore that in a hero. And of course she loves him just as much, and I love this one so much. I love this series. I'm so glad I finally picked it up and read it because it's just so amazing. Oh, I don't know if I told you, but this is the 3rd book in the series, which is Bound, and I rated it 5 stars. And then Regina Abel released a new book in the Prime Mating Agency series, and I immediately had to read it. I just recently read the Prime Mating Agency series in January, and so I was super stoked to see that she had released another book in the series. This is I Married a Merman, and of course I rated it 5 stars. I've loved every single book in her series. So the girl is living on Earth, but she is struggling to breathe. She's becoming allergic to pretty much air, and she has to wear this mask to help her breathe. They find out she's transforming into this other creature, kind of like the sea creature, and she moves to this planet where he's at, and that's where the Prime Mating Agency kind of comes in because she wouldn't have been able to afford to travel to his planet without being in this agency service who pairs up these beings for marriage and finds mates for these creatures. And she decides to give it a shot, and she goes to this his homeland, and he is a merman, and she is slowly kind of turning into one. But this was their story, and it was amazing. He just immediately takes her, you know, like, this is my mate and she's mine and I'm going to love her until the end of time. I just love that so much. It's in each one of these books where the heroes are just so amazing and worships the ground she walks on, and I just love that so much. And of course rated this one 5 stars. Then I read Contagion by Milo. I've had this on my TBR for forever now. The cover on the book really always intrigued me. This turned out to be hilarious, so hilarious. It's a shorter, like, alien romance, and this is about a girl and this alien. I don't know what his alien race is called, but their names are Simi and Aurora, and they have been captured by these other types of aliens. They've been these captive. They are finally able to get free, and they go off, you know, to try to find some civilization, find like the nearest town, and along the way they really form up a connection, which turns to more. But he is so funny. He is from this planet to where they are very clean, and he is like a super germaphobe. He cannot stand anything touching him. Everything is so new to him because they're having to, like, you know, sleep out under the stars. They're looking for this town. They're washing in rivers. They're eating fruit from trees, and everything just grosses him out so much. And when he starts to freak out, she just kind of grabs him and kisses him, and which he thinks is super gross at first, but then he really comes to love that from her. And he doesn't like to be touched or anything except by her. And this was so funny. I laughed so hard at him at points. It was just so funny how he was such a huge germaphobe and what would freak him out. She brought kind of like a new perspective in his life that kind of helped even that out a little bit, and it was so cute. I'm so glad that I read it, and I rated it 5 stars. And then I read Deceived by the Gargoyles by Lillian Lark. This one really intrigued me. This is actually a new release. I've never read anything by Lillian Lark, but the Gargoyles romance really intrigued me, and I rated it 4 stars. This is a girl who is a witch, and she goes to her friend who runs this service, like a matchmaking service, and she wants to find a mate. So she's paired with this man who is a gargoyle, and he kind of deceives her by, you know, only dating her, and they really form this great connection. They really like each other, but then he tells her that, you know, then it comes around to where he's actually already in a relationship with 2 others. They are 2 other gargoyle men, and so this kind of turns into where ends up dating all 3 of the gargoyles. So it's kind of like a reverse harem situation, and it was cute. I really liked it for what it was. I never read a Gargoyles romance, so it was fun to read, and I rated it 4 stars. Then I picked up the latest book that was released in the Necessary Evil series by Onley James. This is Headcase, and this follows one of the twins. So the doctor of the family, the father, has adopted 7 boys. They are all psychopaths. Some have some type of psychopath tendencies, and this one is Asa. He is a twin. Him and Avi are twins, and they can like communicate telepathically. They are super close. They've never really been apart for very long. When they are apart, they tend to really just go crazy because they cannot live without the other one. And so this is what happens. They're grown, but their father sends them on like 2 different kind of missions to see how they react to being apart. And he meets Zane at a charity like fundraiser that his father has sent him to, and Zane is there undercover because he has a feeling that this Mulvaney family have been doing all these horrible crimes, that they've been killing people, which they have, but they are serial killers for like good, for justice. They take out all the bad guys, and he wants to, you know, he thinks that this is going to be his next big story, and so he follows Asa to the next like crime. And Asa finds out that he's been followed, and he locks Zane up in his house, and this is their romance. It was really great. I love their romance. I wish it had a little bit of more of Avi in it, because I really wanted to see like the twins interact with each other more, like one-on-one. But I feel like that would probably come in Avi's story, hopefully. Maybe more of the twins interaction regarding them having, you know, mates, spouses, partners, because Asa had already kind of explained to Zane, hey, you know, if you take me on, you're gonna have to try to like, you're gonna have to like agree to live with Avi as well, because we cannot be separated. So it's so interesting and fun, and this is another great installment of the series, and I rated it 5 stars. And then I read Let Me Love You by Alexandria House. This is the first brother in the McLean Brothers series, and I adored it. This is about a woman who is a single mother. She is divorced from her ex-husband, who is like a rapper. He's an artist. And she is trying to find herself. You know, she gets this job at a jewelry store, and she's kind of like interning there, trying to learn how to do this job. And she is sent on this errand to deliver this jewelry to this guy, and it ends up he's also a rapper himself. His rapper name is Big South, and he is, I think that he's the oldest of the McLean brothers, and he immediately says something that offends her, and so she just kind of like throws the jewelry in his lap and takes off. And he is so intrigued with her from that, because, you know, she didn't like look at him with stars in her eyes as most people do. He then pursues her, and they begin to date, and she's really refreshing to him, because she takes none of his crap and just, you know, kind of treats him as like a normal person instead of this big star. And this is their story and their romance, and I loved it so much. I also love how her daughter, you know, she's super little, and her dad isn't really a big part of her life, but big Everett steps in, and I love how she says, I listened to the audiobook, so every time she'd go, Everett. It was so cute. But I love the relationship of him with her daughter, and he's also a father as well, because he is also divorced and is a single dad. So anyway, I adored this story so much. I'm actually reading the second book in the series right now, but I'm not finished. So that'll be in my final wrap up of the month, but I'm so excited for Leland's story, which is his brother. And then I read Real by Kennedy Ryan. I don't know why it took me so long to read this book. It was absolutely amazing, as I knew it would be, and I rated it 5 stars. It's about a girl who is an aspiring actress. She's on Broadway. She has to fill in for somebody, and this director who's at this Broadway show with his friend sees her perform, and he's like, I have to have her for my next movie, because he's been trying to find the female, you know, he's been trying to find an actress to play the female part in the movie, and he found it in her. And so they hire her to play this part in this film, and this is like her big breakthrough in acting, and she is loving working for this, but she also has lupus and is dealing with like side effects from that, and struggling with this chronic illness. And she goes through a really hard time, a really hard battle through this book, which was, of course, very emotional, as Kennedy Ryan's usually are. There's a lot of emotional things. You know, he's dealing with his mom's death from years back, and she's dealing with lupus, and she needs a lot of help in this book. But this book, without saying too much because I don't want to spoil anything, but this one was fantastic. And I also love the story that they were telling of the movie that she's playing in, he's directing. I loved the fictional, I loved the movie story kind of like in the background that went throughout the book too. That in itself was a really great story, and taken inspiration from real people through history that was fighting for freedom. And it's so heartbreaking to read, but also very necessary to read. And I loved it. I loved every single aspect of this book, even the parts that made you cry. It's still such a wonderful book, and I'm so glad I finally read it. I loved it. I just can't say how much I love this book. And then the last book I read for the mid-month wrap-up is The Corsairs Captive by Ruby Dixon. This is the first book in that series. I kind of wanted to start a new series by Ruby Dixon, so I read this first one. It's kind of shorter, so it is pretty easy to read. This human girl is taken from Earth, and she is held captive by these aliens. The hero in the story is an alien, and he is a pirate, and he kind of wins her. He sees her being a captive and slave by this other alien, and so he kind of wins her, but he cheated at the game, but he wins her and takes her on his ship. But she wants to go back to Earth, but he tells her it's too dangerous, but you know, she's free with him, that he would never harm her. And this is where they fall in love and their story, and it was cute. This wasn't groundbreaking, it wasn't quite as good as Ice Planet Barbarians or Ice Home, but I still really enjoyed it, and I rated it 4 stars. So those are all the books so far that I've read in February. Let me know what you've been reading, and I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.